Good evening, everybody. Welcome. Thanks for coming. Welcome to the Lake Bluff School District 65 Board of Education regular meeting for February 25th, 2014. Christine, can we please have a roll call?
Mark Berry.
Present.
John LaRosen.
Present.
Chris Fletchinger present. Leanne Charlotte.
Present.
Julie Gottschall. Present. Richard Heck.
Here.
Susan Ryder. Present.
That's 7. We have a quorum, so we'll call to order, and we will begin by, if you'll please join me standing in the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And we are going to start with performance and recognition of some students. And they can introduce us.
I think Mr. Blackmer, if you could introduce our students, and maybe as you introduce the students, our board members may want to file around. We are having a little bit of a preview of our upcoming musical, so this is very, very exciting, but viewing would be better going that way. And I'm going to turn it over to you, Mr. Black.
Thank you. That's correct. My report tonight comes in 2 parts. The first part being very exciting, and I'll try my best to make the second part exciting, but I just won't compare. I'm quite certain of that. So I'm going to start, though, actually not by introducing the students, but by turning things over to our adults who are working directly with those students. And Ann C., our vocal director, will be the first person to talk a little bit about the musical this year.
Good evening, and thank you for being here. We offer many opportunities for students to perform at the middle school, and the musical is a great opportunity for us to differentiate for students who excel in the arts. There are many who work on our team to make it possible that are not here this evening. Our set designer, Janet Engel-Julian, who's also our middle school art teacher, Allison Fink, who is our producer, and Liz Schutz, who is in charge of costumes this year. And now I will ask our director, Adrienne Olmstead, to continue.
So we wanted to let you know the dates for Annie are going to be Friday, April 11th at 7:30 p.m. And then Saturday is a matinee at 2 o'clock. And tickets are available through the office and can they buy them at Wisma? And at Wisma to buy your tickets. And we hope to see you all there. And I'd like to introduce you to Angela McNicholas, our choreographer.
Before I introduce the students that are going to perform tonight, I just wanted to let you know that we have over 80 students at the middle school participating in the musical this year on stage, and over 50% of the students in the building are actually helping with sets, hair and makeup, set crew, running crew, costumes, all sorts of different things. So we are really overjoyed to have all the students involved, and particularly tonight, Dennis Everly playing Daddy Warbucks, and Maria Attendido. Sorry, I messed that up. Annie. We have Annie tonight. So if you guys would please come up, we are really excited to see your performance. Thank you.
Together forever.
that may be worth repeating for the folks that couldn't hear it at home. That's 3 weeks worth of work that you just witnessed. So congratulations, nice job, guys. It's going to be a great show.
That was terrific. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
If
everyone.
anybody wants to stick around, great. If you need to go, that's great too, but thank you.
Thank you. That was
Good
fabulous.
job, guys.
Terrific. Absolutely. Yeah, Annie and Daddy, that was awesome.
So from that, I'll try my best to make a smooth transition into the rest of my report, starting with the water main break at the middle school. I wanted actually to thank you, Steve. Big thanks to Steve Miller, Bob Riswald, and Ernest Graves. Those are our maintenance guys who jumped to work helping to secure the area out front of the middle school early Monday morning when we discovered that we did have a water main break. The water pressure was good into the building. We were able to have school, have water all day Monday, and the crew was in place ready to go at 3:45 as soon as we dismissed students. And later that evening, the water was back on and fixed. So I wanted to thank those guys who made a safe spot up front for the kids to get out of the building at the end of the day and scraped up all the ice this morning so they could arrive safely today. Just a few other things to mention as part of the end of trimester 2, quickly approaching. This Friday, February 28th, report cards will be sent home with students the following Friday, March 7th. And wanted to make sure to mention a few of our students who were busy over the weekend competing in the Math Counts competition that was held at College of Lake County. Those students include James Lau, Richard Ma, Nikita Elkin, and Stephen Liu. They did an outstanding job, and I wanted to make mention of their hard work. There were a lot of kids there that did very, very well, and it was a great experience for them. And I also wanted to thank Janelle Carney, who was our math teacher, sponsoring them and there to help out over the weekend. So that wraps up my report for the evening. I hope you enjoyed the performance.
Thanks, Nick.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to start with the opportunity for public comment. If anybody would like to address the board, please do so now. We will also offer up the opportunity to address the board at the end of the meeting if anybody else would like to follow. But that's fine, so if anybody would like to address the board, please do so and just state your name and address for the record. If not, we will continue with item number 6, which is an action item, and that is for the approval of the employment of the Director of Finance and Operations, Mr. Jay Kahn. May I have a motion to approve the employment of Jay Kahn for the Director of Finance and Operations effective May 27th, 2014 through June 30th, 2015?
So moved. Second.
Second. Christine, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Jenna Rosen,
Yes.
Christine Letchner, yes. Leanne Charlo,
Yes.
Julie Gottschall,
Yes.
Richard Heck,
Yes.
Susan Wright,
Yes.
Mark Berry.
Yes. That would be 7-0, and you are approved, and welcome to the district, Lake Bluff District
Too
65.
late to back out now.
Happy to have you.
Your song and dance number now?
Yeah. We can tell you about that.
We don't tell you that until after approval. But we welcome you and we look forward to working with you,
Yeah,
Jay.
so that's great. Welcome to the district. Okay, moving right along, we're going to now go to our reports, and starting with the PTO report. Tonight we have Kate Amaral.
Hello. Sorry, Ann Stewart couldn't be here tonight, so I'll be presenting for her. Thanks, really. Just a couple quick highlights. We had the PTO Science Night recently. Due to the polar vortex, we had to combine the LBES and the LBMS science nights, and it was pretty well attended, mostly by LBES families. But it went well with all new experimental stations. And a big thank you to Lynette Foss, who helped organize it, and all of our scientists who were there. Hopefully next year we'll be back to having 2 separate nights. March 1st is the Swingin' Soiree at the Lake Forest Club. This is the PTO's big fundraiser. Hopefully to see you all there. There are many fun items up for bid. There will be grade level art masterpieces from LBES. Each class in each grade did a different art piece, which will be up for bid. The 5th graders even have quilts that will be up with student artwork weaved in. There will be Blackhawks memorabilia, Bears tickets, gourmet dinner for 6 at InterVarsity, Terlato wines, a Roger Federer signed tennis racket, teacher-sponsored events with students, and much, much more. Also, during the month of March, Science Alliance will be coming both to LBS and LBMS. Well, not Science Alliance, but a different science program is coming to the middle school. And then while I was up here, I thought I'd take a minute to update you on the text-to-tip hotline that's been put together through the Community Wellness Task Force and LEAD. In the first 3 weeks that it was live, they had 26 hits. Most of them were high school students, a couple were college students. Interestingly, most of the hits came midweek. Even more interestingly, the number one time of day that they received the texts were, a third to a half of them were during the school day. The second most popular time was 7 p.m. to midnight. They've estimated that this text-to-tip hotline, so we're almost up to the first 30 days of it being live, and they're going to do a report 30 days, 60 days, and 90 days, so we'll have a better, more thorough report soon. Yearly, they're anticipating this will cost $13,000 per year. It's already been supported by the Lake Bluff PTO as well as Alliance to get off the ground, and the municipalities as well as other entities. But the PTO and the Alliance are both considering annual donations to keep it going.
And that's just, those 26 calls were just local, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
That's amazing.
They haven't even done their full marketing campaign. They campaigned at the high school and at the college. In the next couple weeks, they're looking to fully launch at the middle schools, and then there'll also be stickers hopefully in the business windows. They all have the QR codes that you can scan with your phone, so it's ready to go. So not even fully launched yet, and it's already been pretty active.
Well, that's great that it's there for those kids. It's a shocking number to me personally. That's really huge, but I mean that's terrific that it's there for them.
Yeah, as I said to Andy Duran when he was giving me these numbers, I said it's awesome that it's being used, but not awesome that it's being used. Yeah. So hopefully at least maybe we'll see some negative results as a result of having it.
Thanks, Kate.
Kate, I'd like to thank PTO for their fine work on that science fair. It was really well done.
Oh, good. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Well attended. My 5-year-old granddaughter loved it, and I just thought it was a great program.
Oh, good. Did you have a favorite?
Yeah, she liked the blood test.
All right. Well, every year we try to top ourselves, so we'll do something better next year.
That was terrific.
It was very exciting. It really was a very exciting night.
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, so the next we're going to have the Alliance report and Emily McBean.
Good evening. And your granddaughter's face during that science night was precious. So just a huge smile. Thank you for giving me a few moments to update you on the Alliance activity. Obviously, Alliance being our district's educational foundation. We had our February meeting on the 4th of this month. And thank you to Mark and Christine for attending as school board representatives. That was excellent to have them there. Especially because this was one of our grant meetings where we were taking a look at the grant requests received by our teachers. We are wrapping up our fall fundraising campaign. We set a goal of raising $20,000 and we are coming in right there. We are looking forward to teetering over the edge with our corporate matching. That is going to be, we're giving them all the details that they need for those matches to come through. And thank you to so many of you who are donating to Alliance. So we greatly appreciate it.
If somebody wanted to donate last minute, how would they do that?
They go onto the website, which is lb65.org/alliance, and there is an online donation page.
Good. Thanks.
Thank you for that question. We at the February 4th meeting took a look at the grant requests that we received by our teachers. We approved 3 of those, totaling $11,300. A quick summary of those. It's an exciting, diverse mix of ways in which our students' education is going to be enhanced. The first one is our virtual summer book clubs for 2nd graders through 5th graders at LBES. Kelly Bay and Laura Gray are going to be facilitating 50 students who get recommended by their teachers via online discussion forums to increase and sustain their fluency rates over the summer while taking a look at comprehending complex literary texts all independently at home but through online forums with expectations and parent approvals and buy-in. The second grant is for ukuleles, 25 tenor ukuleles. Ms. C, who's just here with Annie, is going to be using those for her 6th grade music class to reinforce music concepts through string instruments while also looking at a different cultural instrument as well. And the third grant that was approved is for a poster maker at Lake Bluff Middle School. This is obviously going to be supporting every teacher and every student at LBMS, offering some real flexibility with providing visuals that can be really specified to the needs of each curriculum, each chapter and each lesson. So the Alliance Teacher Liaison Team is going to be working, we're going to be working with Dr. West and Mr. Blackmer to finalize dates in the future, hopefully April and June, to again accept teacher grant requests because we don't want to end the year with available funds when there are teacher needs. So those dates are hopefully going to be finalized very soon and we'll move forward from there. Any questions?
You know if board members are allowed to take ukulele lessons?
I don't know, but it would be fun. It's a neat resource, I think, to have for our kids. It's a great way to reinforce concepts. We were excited to see that grant, for sure.
So how do teachers, so if there's going to be a second round of opportunities for grants,
Yes.
how do teachers go about?
We have a full online workflow system that is hopefully now working well, but they fill out a grant request online. That's all part of the website. That automatically gets sent to the building principal for their approval, and then it goes on to Kevin for his approval, and then it lands on our desks.
Okay.
So all of those approvals are done prior, which is very nice to know, obviously, going into our meetings. So, and that, it's easily accessible and pretty basic. There are, I think, 6 questions that they answer.
Great.
Yes. All right. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, so moving right along to 7C, the Lake Bluff Elementary School Principal Report, and I believe that's Joanne Trahanis going to do that for us.
Thank you. Good evening. And I will tell you there will be no singing and dancing. But I will tell you that Dr. West asked for a ukulele for her birthday from her daughter and son-in-law, so maybe
She take used ones?
you can.
I got a good used one.
Oh, you really? Okay.
Not very used.
Not very used.
Not used as much as it should have been.
LBS just finished parent-teacher conferences and very successful and most exciting for our 4th graders because it is their first time that they do student-led conferences. And as one 4th grader said to me, my parents just had to sit and listen to me. And so they were feeling very good about that. The 1st grade is beginning their science inquiry unit and doing their fair tests with parents helping, and the students are working on their iPads and will be hosting their 5th, well, the 1st grade teachers will be hosting their 5th annual inquiry conference, which the parents come to see the students' presentations. After that, a scientist from Abbott Labs comes and gives the children a presentation. It's all part of their science inquiry. Our 4th grade classes and the 2 multi-age classes, Mr. Browns and Miss Lennox, are performing in their 4th grade winter show on Thursday, and they had their workshop this past Saturday, so they're ready to perform for everybody Thursday night. Our students, both LBES and LBMS, participated in the Students in Technology Symposium, held at Stevenson, I believe. We had students who presented and also participated, and it's a great day. They have a really, it's a good learning experience and something they enjoy. And we had many teachers who helped to be there and sponsor the kids on this Saturday. That's from like 9 in the morning till 2 in the afternoon. In addition, we just had our tri-district conference, a very successful conference on formative assessment, and we had several teachers from LBMS and LBES who presented, along with Lake Forest teachers and administrators. It was a very successful event, and most of the feedback was, while they enjoyed the keynote, who was very well known, they enjoyed hearing from their peers and being allowed to select sessions they could attend given by their own peers. So that was a very successful event. And of course, looming over us is the ISAT testing starting next week for the next couple of weeks. That's about it. Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
At this time, I'm going to ask our two principals. We're finishing up teacher evaluation this week, and so everyone's running on empty. So if you could both go home since you have more work to do. Thank you for your reports.
Thanks, guys.
You guys could do the So Long Farewell, though. You know that song, Nate? So Long Farewell.
Auf Wiedersehen.
Last year's been over.
Okay, so moving right along to the president's report, which is me, and this will be very brief. Just a few items. Number one, myself and the board wants to let the community know, and the staff at all the schools know, that we've recently completed our annual evaluation of Dr. Sophie, and have found that she has successfully completed all of her contract goals. We want the community to know that Dr. Sophie has the complete support and endorsement of this board. And we're in the process of discussing a new contract with Dr. Sophie, so we just want everybody to be aware that that's going on right now. I just want another chance to promote this big PTO event this weekend, the Swinging Sorority, as Kate mentioned earlier. It's this Saturday, March 1st from 7-11 at the Lake Forest Club. Tickets and information can be found at the school district website. You can link to their website, so that's a big deal. So come out and support the PTO. I also wanted to say thank you to Emily McBean and the Alliance. Like she mentioned earlier, it's grant time, and Christine and I attended a meeting yesterday, and yet a few weeks back, and it was
It feels like yesterday.
just like yesterday. It was very professionally run. They have all their ducks in a row and really know what they're doing, and everything they're doing is for the good of the district and the kids, and we really want to let them know we appreciate what you're doing, so thank you. Support the Alliance, they do great work, and go to the website and donate. And then also to support Miss C and for the great musical, we just saw a little snippet of a reminder that is not for a while, but April 11th and 12th, tickets are available at WSMA for the middle school play. And that concludes the President's report. So next is the Superintendent's report.
And mine starts out with the same thing, support PTO. And I am not going to wear a flapper dress, but I'll find something to wear. I'm sure it's a great event. And our Alliance is working very hard on their grants, and we're very fortunate to have two such wonderful parent groups supporting our kids in our district. One of the more interesting things that I did this month, I attended an internet safety presentation given by a representative from the Attorney General's office. Leanne was there that night. To say that it's scary is really an understatement of all the different things that are available for kids, social media, all the different ways of getting bullied. It was bad enough for me in my days with writing notes, and if you were caught with a note now, it's very complicated. We had about 9 or 10 parents come. They were very supportive parents, were very interested in more work, and so one of the things that we'll be looking to do before the school year ends is trying to get either adults or some high school volunteers to come in and allow parents to come in and meet one-on-one to learn how parental controls work on their phones, on their iPads. Many of the parents said they really wanted to be able to do that, but they had no idea how to do it and really wanted some one-on-one training. So the other thing that came from it is parents were very interested in our kids hearing the same message, and so that's something that we'll be working with Nate. But it was very beneficial, and I got the information from LEAD. Andy Duran had given me that contact, and Joy Marquis. Kevin and I have been busy. Very exciting meeting yesterday at Lake Forest, reviewing programs. One of them that we'll be switching to, and I know the kids are very used to hearing my voice on Alert Now, but we are going to be switching over to a new program called School Messenger. And one of the options is you can choose a voice from School Messenger, or you could choose my voice still. But it also offers things like dragging our banners over from the elementary and middle school so that we will no longer need constant contact. And so it offers a variety of different messaging, from emergencies where we might have to call school to just everyday communication. And it would start really at the building level and move through the district office. So there's many different things we can do with it, and it connects with PowerSchool, which is our student information system. Then we saw a program which I'm even more excited about, and that is a program called InfoSnap. And I'm not going to steal Kevin's thunder because he'll be presenting on that next month, but just know that we will have the capability of moving our entire registration process online. That will help us set up our parent portals that we're going to be needing. Parents will be able then to get in, list 10 phone numbers, 5 phone numbers. When phone numbers change, they can go in and change it themselves. And basically, it's going to save us money because we have one dedicated person that spends the whole summer doing that. And now we're going to be buying the program, and it will be very accurate. So we're excited. Kevin will be sharing more in March. It also means, however, that registration will probably be pushed back a month this year, and that's okay because we won't be spending all summer entering the data. We had a facilities meeting in February where we had a tour of the building and talked in general about needs at the middle school. We will have one more this month, and then I'll be bringing some recommendations to you. I will be working with Jay on looking at architects in the coming months, so we'll be working on that also. Our teacher evaluation cycle, as I've shared with you, ends February 28th. And what that means for all of us that are evaluating teachers is that we have to have a final rating on teachers that are evaluated this year so that we have 2 to 3 weeks at the district office to process that rating. And basically what that means is we look at ratings over the past 5 years, and we have to categorize each teacher into 4 different groups. You're either in an excellent, a proficient, a needs improvement, or an unsatisfactory group. We call them group 1, 2, 3, 4 because that's very creative. And really what that does for us is, in a reduction in force situation, you reduce now based upon teacher performance as well as their seniority. So it's very complex. It has to be done by February 28th because we have to give each teacher notice of the group that they're in 75 days prior to the end of the school year. So that is why we are ending our cycle early, but we're also looking at starting our next cycle earlier. So we'll start some teacher evaluations in the spring. Last week, Kevin and I took a couple of our teacher leaders and Tracy Rorick to a student growth teacher evaluation seminar, because 2 years from now, student growth will be in all teacher evaluations. And no one's really quite clear of what that will look like. So we got some good ideas, and we'll be working on that in the coming months. And then finally, I am also going to put a plug in for Tri-District. I know I sent you all the brochure. We had an outstanding Tri-District Day with both Lake Forest school districts. Kudos to Kevin and to Lauren who put the event together. It was very professionally run. It was, I think the favorite part for everyone was hearing their colleagues speak. There was an afternoon session that I missed on a high school student, I think, that presented to the staff, which was very well received. And actually the night before, we had 3 of our Lake Bluff administrators had dinner with all of the Lake Forest administrators and our guest speakers. So it was a nice partnership. And Kevin and Lauren really put in a lot of work and worked with our teachers. And
Tell people who
Lauren Fagel is, what's her official title, Kevin?
Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum Instruction, Technology, and Assessment.
In Lake Forest. She's both in 67 and 115. So kudos to both of you because it was just a very outstanding event. And that concludes my report.
Great. Thank you. Anybody have questions? All right, so we're gonna move right along and go to discussion items, and I believe it was Jane put together a document summarizing some of the upcoming bid items. And you just talk about that, or Jane gonna talk about that?
Jane can talk about that a little bit for us.
That's not an action item, right? Because I noticed there's some discrepancy between two different agendas that I have on action items. There's nothing
It should
acted on
be.
for that.
It is an action item.
It is an action because we need approval.
It
I
is.
thought we discussed it.
Do we need action on, we need action on this, don't we?
Direct us to proceed and seek bids.
Okay, so we just need direction on this, so it's just, if this sounds okay, we move forward.
I do want to make one change. We will be receiving bids on all three items, of course, in the incoming weeks. However, I met with a representative from Lake Forest 67115 yesterday, and we won't open the custodial services bids until after the March 18th meeting, so we'll bring a recommendation to the board in April for approval of that bid. But the other two, we will bring to the board on March 18th. And for the public's knowledge, we are seeking bids to replace an old van with a new truck for our maintenance department, our custodial supplies, cleaning supplies for the next school year, and then our nighttime custodial services for the next year we're bidding as well. We did that with 67-115.
It says for 3 years, custodial services. Is that a 3-year
It's
contract?
a 3-year contract,
Okay.
yes.
Oh, we did it with 67 and 115 together.
Yeah, we
Oh, that's
have
good.
for several years.
Is there some way you can tag on with the municipal league on this?
I will have to talk to 67-115 and see if they would like to.
Right, because that's like there's a whole pool of buying of vehicles at the state level, and you may get a better price.
Okay, well, I'll talk to.
You may want to talk to the village about this.
Okay, because we're just getting the bid specs put together for publication purposes here in the next few days, so I'll reach out to them.
Jane, it's my understanding too with custodial supplies that at this point forward, they're all green, because people do
We
ask
do
me
follow
that.
there is a Green Cleaning Act in the state of Illinois for schools. We do follow those rules and regs. Yes.
Any reason to replacing the aging van with a new truck rather than a new van?
Well, yes, and I really leave that up to Steve Miller, our maintenance supervisor. The van is a 1998 van, and once upon a time, we actually transported some special ed students, which is why we had a van in the first place. The truck would just give the maintenance department much more flexibility. They're going to use it for snow plowing, among other things, but the van is, a truck would serve them much better.
They can drag equipment around and different things like that.
Will they keep the van?
No, we will get rid of the van.
You need it?
No, I'm just, you know,
Right up there with the ukulele.
sometimes a van with 70,000 miles on it is better just to have for in case of some use.
Steve would like to.
Because you don't get much for it.
No, we're not going to
Did
get
it-
much for it. The body's in very poor shape. The interior's in very
Very bad shape.
Any other questions?
So we will be going ahead and seeking bids on these items.
Okay. Anybody have any other questions or concerns about what Jane talked about? All right, moving right along. I'm comparing two different forms in front of me, and there was some discrepancy. So we're going to go to student fees, correct?
Yes.
We all have in our board packet a summary of student fees, and may I have a motion to approve student fees for the 2014-2015 school year as presented in your board packet. May I have a motion to...
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
Is there a second? Okay, let's have some discussion about this. Can you guys summarize?
I
for us
can
what we're-
easily summarize. As we discussed the last committee of the whole meeting, we are bringing to you the exact student fees that we had this past year. Again, we talked last month about transportation remaining free for our students because of our fund balance ratio in that transportation fund. And then we did, just for comparisons, because many of you had asked, we did give some comparisons on what full-day kindergarten costs in other districts.
I also think that it just simply wasn't a result of a balance in the fund balance. It also was more efficient. We found more kids were using the bus and the traffic was a little better, so.
A safety issue too, right?
Safety issues was.
Well, it was getting kids into class on time better.
And hopefully more kids will continue to take it next year.
That's a very good point. I think the other piece, the safety piece, is probably the biggest because across the board, everyone is saying transportation is 100% better at the elementary school since we've been offering this. And traffic has been much better along Washington. And so it really is, it's a great safety and it's also good for the community. It's really provided some traffic relief, so.
So just to be clear though, we're talking about funding the transportation, all the transportation out of existing fund balance, not charging families for that.
Correct.
For this upcoming school year. That doesn't necessarily mean that will be the case moving forward, but we will be revisiting this issue annually, I imagine.
We revisit this issue every year for student fees, and actually, it is on the board planning calendar for this month every year.
All right, so we've already had a motion and a second. Can we have a vote, please, Christine?
Chris Fletchinger, yes. Leanne Charlo,
Yes.
Julie Gotcho,
Yes.
Richard Haig.
I still have a question, so I'm gonna say no.
Well, you can answer the question.
Want to ask you a question?
What is the deal with a half day of kindergarten for $82.50
Those are fees, just plain student fees.
compared to $2,500 for full day? Is that per student?
Well, that's per student, and there's usually a fee per student for every grade. And then when you're looking at 2,500, my understanding is when we brought full day in, we were looking at making it as much cost effective as we could as far as yes.
Cost neutral.
Jane's gonna jump in and give some
also
facts too.
At the time, and these other comparison districts that show their tuition fee, and we do refer to it as a tuition fee for a full day program, because the state doesn't require us to provide a full day program. So this is supplemental to the required half day kindergarten. So at the time we had to hire teachers, buy desks, things like that. So it was to be a cost neutral.
Supplies, lots of supplies.
I will now vote yes.
Very good.
Susan, did you have a question, comment?
I did. I just note that our fees are significantly lower than the comparison districts for our full day. Do we think that 2,500 still gets us to more or less cost neutrality?
Yes, ma'am.
Anybody else have questions before we
We
resume?
profit off of them. We really wanted to
Make it cost neutral, and we're confident that that does so.
Well, we will revisit this on a yearly basis, so I think that's probably, some of this analysis should be done.
Okay, so we pick up with Rich.
hang on.
You want to start from the top again?
So Rich said yes. All right, so Susan,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
and John LaRosa?
Yes.
Okay, the motion passes. We're going to move on now. And this is where it really gets a little tricky between my two versions of my plan. I have,
We're not doing policies yet.
okay, so it's setting the dates for the 2014
Right.
board meetings. And does that be C here on this one? See, what's
All we're
different?
gonna do right now, yeah, this is different. We're gonna approve the 2014-15,
District
Meeting
calendar.
dates, right?
But
this is it.
that's the district
Okay.
calendar. This is board meetings.
That's what we're working on right now, see, that's what we're looking at.
All right. We're,
Yeah, but
We get to that.
you two, your forms are a little bit
Okay, all
off
right.
here. All right, so
so-
let's get to board meeting calendars. If you can all put those in front of you, we have a couple different things to decide on, and I need to run by you. If you take a look at the 2014 calendar,
This is on page 18 of your board packet if you're looking to figure out where that is.
first of all, we need to go back, and in the month of June, we will be having 2 meetings back to back. And what we normally do with that is we do the second and third Tuesday of the month in June, and then we go on summer break. So if you remember, I sent you all an email saying I'd like to know kind of when your summer plans are. And then what I learned from that is most of August is out. almost all of you are going to be out at some point or another. July is a time where a lot of the administrators travel. But literally, we can't go 10 weeks without paying bills. So what I did is I counted up between the last board meeting in June, which would be, let me get my calendar here. June, we would have meetings the 10th and 17th. So between the 17th of June and between August 26th, there's 10 weeks. So what I did was I just divided it right in the middle, and the midpoint date is around July 22nd. And what I would propose, there's quite a few of you that are in town on July 22nd, is that we have what I would call a stand-up meeting, and we approve bills. And that, we could do it during the day, we could do it first thing in the morning, but it would be strictly to approve bills and any financial reports. Then, in August 26th, we'd all come
We've done
back.
those in parking lots before, like at the train station if you had to, before you catch a train or whatever.
It would just be strictly to approve bills. August 26th, everyone's back, we're in school. Then to make up some time, I put on here 2 different COW meetings. One would be all on finances, so we would be looking at projections, reviewing the entire budget, so that we could actually carry on the September 9th and finish up budget conversations, and then look at some of our reports for strategic planning. Because by then we'll have scores so we can report out on some student achievement, etc. That gives us 2 full meetings that we can talk about finance, and we can intersperse our financial reports in there. Then we get back on a normal schedule. We have our regular board meeting at the end of September. October's normal, committee of the whole and regular. November, same thing. December, we've got our committee of the whole. I added committee of the whole in December. We typically don't have one, but it's nice to have on the calendar, and it would be nice then if we didn't need it, we could cancel it. So my question to you with the 2014, before I move into 2015, is times. First of all, I need to know that, will this calendar work for your summers? Do you think it's manageable?
You've got all our dates.
I have all your dates.
You made it work for the best and
So
most people you
far.
could.
Yeah, and it's difficult
knows?
to figure
I
out.
suspect it's gonna be as good as anything.
Yes,
Yeah.
Right.
so
You've gone through that exercise already of trying to maximize
Right.
the number of people here.
I need 4 people on July 22nd.
I'll be
I
here.
am out of town.
I'm
Fine.
not necessarily here. I
I'm
don't
here.
know yet. Probably fine.
So we
I'm
should
pretty
have
certain
4, and we can do it. We'll just do the time that meets everybody's needs. I can't see that lasting more than 15 minutes.
Okay.
All right. So when do you want, since we approve these every year, when do you want to start closed sessions when we have closed sessions, and when do you want to start COW and regular meetings? We put on here what we had decided earlier, keeping closed from 6 to 7 when we need them, and then starting meetings at 7.
It's been
That's
working.
fine. That's worked fine.
All right, just wanted to
Fine by
clear.
Yeah.
So if you look back in 15 then, it's hard for me to look at 2015, the year, because we just started 14. But we've got our 2 January meetings. In February, instead of having to call a meeting, I added a committee of the whole. Chances are likely the February 17th committee of the whole would be all on staffing. So that would just, it will always be in our schedule then. Because
Is that
we,
St. Patrick's Day? February
No,
2nd?
that's
it's
March.
March.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, I did think
It has been for some time.
What kind of an Irishman are you?
so,
Not adequate, right?
so then we have, moving right along, our 2 March dates. Then I want to point out to you that board elections are on April 7th, and we would continue on April 14th and April 28th, and the new board would most likely get seated either the 28th or after that, depending on counting the days. So if this is good for everybody, then this calendar can be approved for this evening.
Okay. I don't have an issue with it.
No.
Fine.
Do we vote on it? or
Motion
you
to
just
approve
want
the
to-
We have to vote on it.
I don't see that written anywhere, but I can make something up.
Use the blank one at the end.
I move we approve this calendar as presented. How about that?
Hey,
I'll
already
second.
moved, so you want me to say?
Okay, she moved. We'll
I second.
Roll call.
Leanne moves.
So we have a first and a second.
Second, yes.
And roll call vote, please.
Leanne, Charlotte,
Yes.
Julie Gottschall,
Yes.
Sir Richard Haig,
Yes.
Susan Ryder,
Yes.
Mark Barry,
Yes.
John Morozen,
Yes.
Chris Fleischinger, yes.
The motion's approved, so we are approving the board meeting calendar as in the board packet.
And then we're moving to the board planning calendar. I want to point a couple things out. So if you have them on your internet, on your computer, or if you have a paper copy, I just want to make a couple comments about February and March. On page 2 of your board planning calendar, you'll notice in February it says board approved certified staff plan for the following school year. We still need to have our staffing meeting in order to do that. And so I sent dates today, later in the afternoon, of March 4th and March 6th. That's Tuesday and Thursday of next week. So if you could let me know offhand, either tonight before you leave, I've heard from 3 of you already, we can set that meeting and finish up staffing. But we need to get that done sometime, so very soon. So that will be met. Our compensation review for non-certified staff and non-union staff, at this point will probably be moved to April when you look at the March presentations. I want to make a couple comments I'm on page 2, board goal 1. The staff development goals, that all is in alignment with what Kevin's already presented for staff development. So we have our baseline for this year. So when you look under board goal 1, increase the percentage of staff development that is completed in conjunction with Lake Forest. We can actually take a look at what we did this year and then compare it with what we're doing next year. All of our programs are being reviewed annually. When you look on page 3, I want to talk about the number of teachers who report that staff development is meaningful. Again, we have baseline data already, so we've already presented on that. And then if you'll notice in board goal 3, something that we need to get moving on is we need to start visiting other top tier learning environments to look at middle schools. And that's something that I will address with our facilities committee. But certainly if there's any neat middle schools that you've heard about in local communities, let us know. And you're more than welcome to join us on those visits as long as we only have 2 board members. So, pardon me, I missed that.
There's some nice ones in New England.
No, Hawaii. No, maybe flags.
I'm not even touching that one. So you can see we're on progress and we will continue to use this, but I just wanted to point that out.
Okay.
Now we're ready for policy.
Do you want me to, so that is not an action item then?
First reads are not action.
Okay.
Because first reads, you're just going through.
So board planning calendar, just crossing off. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm confused because I have different, one agenda says one thing and this one says something else. So we're now on first read of policy updates?
Yes.
Back up here.
Right.
Okay, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 policy, first reads of policy updates that is.
I'll walk you through.
You're gonna walk us through, or Julie and
Julie and
Leanne?
Leanne are gonna jump in.
Okay.
And then you're gonna approve the first read.
Right, okay.
And Julie and Leanne, feel free to jump in anytime with this. What we did when we met on our policy committee meeting, which I know we had a fun time, so it's too bad none of you could join us for that. We had some really good questions that we referred to Terry Hodges, so there are some notes from Terry Hodges and we'll go through that. But basically 6.60, as we shared, when there's new mandates from the ISBE, and usually it's by different interest groups, they always add what we have to teach in the school based on that. So 6.60 is a leading policy that we will be checked on for compliance to make sure we're teaching every single one of these items here. What they've added is they've added this number 9, that in health education we have to address age-appropriate sexual abuse and assault awareness and prevention education in all grades. And that is part of the law. And it's from a teen dating violence act that the state of Illinois took. So our proposal as we looked at this is just to adopt exactly what they have because it's the law and we have to do it. That's that policy. Did I leave anything out of that one? Nope.
I had a question about all this stuff about grades 9 to 12. There's lots of several paragraphs that are just 9 to 12. Do we keep those in?
We leave them in so that parents can see what's ahead of them, but we're not responsible for them.
Okay.
Policy 6.250. We had asked Terry Hodges if we had to put in the phrase, all volunteer coaches must comply with the requirement to report hazing. She said it must be in. So up at the top, when you look at that, it says adopt changes as shown. Right. Got it?
Yeah.
So any questions on that one? No. All right, policy 7.60 on student residence. This is something that Hodges and Louisi takes very seriously as student residency is extremely important. So she pretty much rewrote the whole policy. And Kevin's been working with her on this as our homeless liaison and is helping with the registration. So we recommend that we adopt the changes exactly as shown from Hodges and Louisi. Okay?
Okay.
Do you want me to pass mine down?
No, I'm fine. I'm just a little disappointed on one thing.
Just let us know.
Insert it into our policy.
What might that be?
What?
Well, it's point 13 and what was the first policy? 6.60.
Tell me.
There's nothing about any Scandinavians, no Norwegians, Finns, Danes, or Swedes. Everyone else is represented.
You know what? I would share with you, as a board, if you'd like to know, and Mark has actually attended, there is a session at the Tri-Conference that you can go in and you can, as a board, take action and you can recommend to the state board that you'd like to do that. And I would highly recommend it.
Thank you.
Don't forget the French people.
Let's move along.
The French, yeah. The French are over
French are in there.
We're always looking for volunteers for
They're
that because it's
represented.
like pulling legs to try to get people to go. So Richard has already volunteered. Next policy 7.185 is this teen dating violence prohibited. We had said as a policy committee that all of this delineation we just felt was unnecessary. So if you look in the box, it says see language from legal counsel. We recommend we eliminate what press gave us and write exactly what Terry Hodges wrote for us. Then we're covered by the law and it's a little bit more clear.
I got a question. Maybe this is just clearly defined in the law. Why is it just 13 to 19? Why not? What if a kid is dating? I know that some parents have different opinions and all that, but what if a kid is dating below age 13?
And it's just what's in the law.
Okay.
That's.
What if we see these kinds of things occurring with a 12-year-old? Does that fall under bullying or harassment? Or?
It would fall under bullying, harassment, or student discipline. But
it covers teenagers. So 13
but Terry
would be the youngest.
Terry would tell you 13 is the youngest, and the other things would be covered through either bullying or student discipline.
As long as we're protecting everybody.
Visitors to and conduct on school property. Terry did make some changes on this one, and we had brought this to Terry because we again felt like there were some things in here that were cumbersome. She recommended we keep it, so we're recommending adopt the changes as shown. Questions?
I have a comment just in general. This one was one of those ones that I've made this kind of comment on policy before. It seems like sometimes we get into one thing where we try to delineate exactly everything that we're trying to protect against, and it seems like the more specific we get, the greater the risk of leaving something out. That just occurred to me when I was reading this. I don't know if anybody else feels that way, that maybe there needs to be more general language. And then on the first line of guess it would be page 2. The school district expects mutual respect, civility, and orderly conduct. Are those words subject to interpretation? Do people have different definitions that they live by for civility and respect, and do we need to define them for the school district?
I think, and I can ask Terry, but I would tell you that we need some flexibility in that. So if we defined it, I think that it would be tying our hands a little bit more than what we would like.
Okay. Just pointing out things that I thought maybe we need to talk about. On item 8, consume, possess, distribute, or be under the influence of an alcoholic beverage or illegal drug. What about the illegal or inappropriate use of prescription drugs? Apparently that's a big issue among teens.
You know what, we didn't talk about where it says use and possess medical cannabis, being under the influence of that. Because we talked about being under the influence in another policy, but not this one.
Yeah, we didn't talk about it in this one.
Yeah.
This one, it's listed though.
But there
It's
are other,
listed, but it doesn't talk about under the influence. It just says you can't use it. So they could smoke it up before they come, be very high at an event.
yeah, so I don't know, what about the misuse of legal drugs, and something to think about.
I'll ask on that one.
I think on number 10, I've got a question in number 10 that you're going to say exactly what you did about my question about civility and defining the word, but I'll ask it anyways. Impede, delay, disrupt, or otherwise interfere with any school activity or function, including using cellular phones or disruptive manners. I think some of those words are subject to interpretation. People will have different, this day and age, you never see anybody without their cell phone, and is that disruptive? I don't know. Do we want to be more specific, or do you want to play it the way you play the other one, or you want to give us the discretion to make that call? I don't know how to handle that.
I think from an administrative standpoint, I'd like some leeway on that, because what's disruptive in one situation, for instance, if someone's on their phone talking loudly at a game, but they're not playing, they're between quarters, that's going to be different than when they're talking on the phone loudly when there's a game going. So, and I just think that we
And
need,
anyway, they text.
pardon me? We just need some leeway on that one.
For some reason, this policy caught my eye. I have another couple things. On number 12, I'll go fast.
Okay.
Operate a motor vehicle in a risky manner. What's risky? I think that's another one of those subjective words.
I would share that we have that pretty much on a daily basis somewhere.
Okay, and then number 13, it's one of those things where maybe we should be careful about trying to identify all these things because we're leaving things out. Rollerblading, roller skating, skateboarding. What about those wheelie shoes that kids use? You know, there's a whole list of things that could be in there, and maybe we need to generalize that somehow.
I think
Wheeled.
all of these are good points and sound like lawyer points, frankly. But I'm just wondering if we could, in this case, decide to accept the press policy, understanding that we're going to have some margin of risk in any policy we adopt. If we become more specific, then we have one argument, one concern. If we become less specific, then we have a different concern. I guess this one is one I would be willing to rely on press's expertise on.
I'm fine with that. I just needed to point out what I need to point out.
Thank you. I do appreciate it.
You know, the one change that may accommodate both concerns is simply saying at the beginning, before the list, the enumerated list is made, something about including but not limited to the following acts. You have to wordsmith that, because I don't think we intend for this to be a complete list.
Right.
It's really the mutual
Well, that's where it gets
responsibility, orderly
dangerous.
conduct.
It appears that way. So.
Right. So I think that if we maybe just made that change,
Yeah, I like
we
that.
could-
I like that too. Sounds good.
Next. That's it for the first reads, right?
That's it for the first read, so we have to approve the first read.
Yep.
Right
That's
here.
first read. Okay, we have a motion to approve
So moved.
the policy for first reads as
Second.
presented. So we've got a so moved and a second. May we have a roll call vote, please?
Okay. Julie Gutschall,
Yes.
Richard Haig,
Yes.
Susan Ryder,
Yes.
Martin Berry,
Yes.
John LaRosa,
Yes.
Chris Letchinger, yes, Leanne Shuttle.
Yes.
That motion is approved. Moving on. Action items with discussion. Approval of the 2014-15 district calendar and tentative 2015-16 district calendar. We have in our board packets a copy of this. Jean, is there anything you want to say before we?
I just want to point out a couple things. You have those, right?
Yeah,
What's
already.
that for?
We already voted.
No, this is
This is a different one. We
No,
voted
you
on
guys
the
have the
board.
board calendar. Board
This
calendar.
is
One is the
school
board
calendar.
calendar and one is the district calendar. It is confusing because we might want to divide those up next year so that it's not so confusing.
No, we don't need to.
So I want to point out a couple things that have been pointed out to me from staff. We have aligned our winter break and spring break to Lake Forest, so that's the good news. The bad news is that some of our staff, now their breaks are not aligned with their kids' breaks from other lake counties because since we aligned Lake Forest does not align with what the Lake County ROEs recommend. So most of the districts follow what the regional office recommends, and so therefore many of our staff members now don't have the same breaks. There's nothing we can do about it because our goal has to be to accommodate our families here. But I wanted you to be aware of that.
Why is it that Lake Forest doesn't follow what the rest of the Lake County is? Can we address it there?
I can try, but they pretty much count out. They're like us. We try to count out our weeks and try to get our trimesters to come out at a good point. We went back actually and scheduled an extra meeting because our goal here is good communication home. So we actually divided everything up into either conferences or midterms or report cards so that parents are hearing from the school district often. And I think that is absolutely fantastic. We built in 2 emergency days this year that we're telling everybody we're building in. One of them is going to be President's Day, and one of them is going to be the Monday after Easter. And we're going to tell people if there's no emergency days taken, then we'll have them off. But if we have a snow day in January, then we can call school on those days. And then people know ahead of time. I think that the frustration this year for many families was that they didn't know. And we can still then finish by the end of the first week of school, of June, which is going to be tough because we're starting later and ending at the same time. There's more continuous, the goal this year was more straight weeks of school without breaks. And we also chose to do early release days on, what did we decide, Kevin, every second Monday or every third Monday?
Every second Monday.
So we're going to do every second Monday so that parents will know at least every second Monday that's an early release day. So we tried to bring as much continuity as we could with this. You need to know when you approve the 15-16 calendar, because we have to approve the framework for that. We again aligned our breaks with Lake Forest and with our current calendar, but that's the year that Lake Forest is looking at possibly starting earlier. And I've already shared that we may not be able to do that. We may be working on the middle school. We also are negotiating a contract next year, and sometimes, we make some decisions when we're negotiating that impact the calendar. So
Is that a contract issue for Lake Forest as well, if they want to start their calendar early? I'm just thinking about how well that went with the block schedule this year with high school.
I don't know their contract, so I don't know the answer to that. But we bring a calendar forward that I feel confident is aligned to Lake Forest schools this year. So
I had a question for you about the student conferences, because I noticed that we have one in October and the other one at the end of January. I could be wrong. It seemed like that January one is a little bit earlier than we did.
We actually, like we did before, we counted out all the weeks, and when we actually counted them out for communication, so that's where it fell. And we felt that was a better use, get the kids organized back in school. We're actually going to try to get MAP testing done prior to the conferences so that the parents can still hear about that. We're really trying to catch kids if they go downhill after break. That's a typical time that kids get lazy.
Like in January or something?
In January, and so we moved conferences up to make a difference with parent communication there.
It just, as a casual observer, it just seems like it leaves a lot of the school year without that communication, like clusters at the beginning. So I guess you guys have
we spent a lot of time on it.
Figured out that works best, but I don't know. It seems like it leaves a lot of
I
time.
agree.
January till then June with no.
Yeah, after January, you don't hear anything again. I think that's a long time. As a parent, that strikes me as a long time. And I feel like the conferences come very close because you have one in October, and then you have break, and you know things sort of slow down over December, and then you have your next one in January. It doesn't feel like there's much new.
When we looked at February, again, trying to maximize communication, we space them out. When you count weeks, it falls exactly where the fall conferences fell. When you count weeks.
Weeks after the trimester
Right.
starts.
And we did it that way. We also looked at February and trying to have uninterrupted weeks of instruction. We also then in March, it's impossible to do anything because we've got ISATs and spring break, and April's too late. So, and don't forget, our if there's issues, they should be addressed with the parent right away prior to that time anyway. Our winter conferences are not real well attended.
Well,
So-
and that doesn't surprise me because I feel like I just talked to you in October. It seems like just yesterday at that point. So you think, well, what's new, really?
And at the end of the school year, I think one thing that parents are interested in is kind of, okay, where are we? Or, towards the end of the school year, because you're planning for your child's summer. So do I need to look at tutors and math camp and that kind of stuff to help them out?
That might be something that we want to bring to the teachers for next year, because that would be, we're already looking at next year's placement, so that might be something we would want to consider next year.
Well, some form of communication,
Yeah.
may not have to be conference, could be a letter to the parents or something.
And isn't that something that
Information on
parents,
the parent portal.
maybe a reminder home to communicate with your student's teacher on a regular basis? I mean, that's something parents should be doing anyways. They don't need to rely on. If you're finding out new information on your parent-teacher conference, that's too late. You should be talking to your teachers on a regular basis.
You want a check-in point, but maybe this is a good opportunity to get parent input too through some sort of survey
That's a
about
good
what
idea.
people would prefer in
That's a
terms
very
of a
interesting
calendar.
idea.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
Two-way communication, asking
Mhm.
for input.
That's a great
I
idea.
share some of the observations you guys are meaning, and it seems to me, just looking at who signed up for winter conferences, it seemed like they were fairly, when I just was checking in at my kids' conference, there were very few other parents there. It seems like maybe we could reinvigorate the winter conferences by doing something like that.
That's good.
We'd like to make
I
them
like
more
the idea.
meaningful.
I mean, they're
Survey.
presented as not really
Right,
necessary.
I know.
Like, if you want a conference, tell us what you want to talk about.
I,
Which is, it's a little different from this is when we're doing conferences. We're hoping that everyone's coming in.
I think maybe we should look at that because the winter map test scores have just come in. I thought it was a meaningful conference, and I haven't always. I think there's
And
more that it talks about.
that's why we set them up at where they are. We're gonna
Yeah,
test them when they get back. And a lot of the summer things, signups are in February, from what I've heard, because that actually came up when we were doing our calendar meeting. The parents want to know earlier where they're doing from their map scores so they can start planning for their summer. So I think we should do a survey. I love that idea.
It is a great idea.
And one thing that I'm trying to figure out, because we'll do the 5 essentials this year, is I'm wondering if there's a section that we can add with questions that we need information from parents on. So I like that
Well,
idea.
and if we were going to survey them on anything about the calendar, it'd be really interesting to see the results about asking about those first 2 days that week in August.
Yes.
Because I think you'd get an overwhelming response that they'd rather go 2 days later in the summer. And all those summer programs that are going to start, like the park district and stuff, that's fine. I don't think it overlaps.
No, I don't either. And even for emergency use days, I think people would rather, the way it is now, we really have one day at the end of June. If we went into that next week, we'd get a couple days at the end of June. People probably wouldn't go out of town for just a partial week. The thing with using President's Day, and I'm no fan of the President's Day off necessarily, but if people want to plan a winter weekend away, this precludes them from doing it at that time. So that's another one there. I'm sure there's many different points of view, and it'd be interesting to see where the majority lies.
I think
So,
doing a survey on some of that would be interesting to hear from parents. So we'll have to do something by the end of the year. I'm going to check to see if there's any way we can add it or do something in conjunction with. It probably can't be part of the survey, but if a parent's going to go to the website to figure it out, maybe they can take our short survey too. I like that idea.
Does anybody have any other questions on calendars? Comments? Can we have a motion to approve the 2014-2015 district calendar, tentative 2015-2016 district calendar as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Can we have a roll call vote, please, Christine?
Richard Heck.
Here.
Susan Ryder.
Yes.
Go.
It's yes,
Yeah.
yes, or yes or no.
You are here.
Susan,
Yes.
Marty Berry,
Yes.
John Rosen,
Yes.
Chris Ledginger, yes, Leanne Charlotte,
Yes.
Julie Gotcha.
Yes.
All right, motion's approved.
Who was the first?
I
He's
was
trying to
saying,
decide- he's trying to decide whether he's here or not.
Thank you.
We're going to move on to approval of policies for a second read. There is 11 policies that we've discussed in a prior meeting. And are you guys going to walk us through this first? Or
Actually-
we move right to, or what do you want to
All changes have been made, and I did copy the recommendations from Terry Hodges, who made some changes, so they're all changed and ready to go for second reading, based upon the discussion at the last meeting and any last minute things for Terry.
So unless there's any questions, we can vote, right?
Right.
Let me just, I had a comment on 5.9, and I know it's going to drive everybody crazy, but just want to see what I was asking.
5.9?
5.90.
Abused and
And there
neglected
will be a
child
quiz.
reporting.
Next board meeting, we will give you the number of the policy,
I-
and
I-
we want you to stipulate which one it is, if it's bullying.
I do want to point these out. 5.90. It is on the first page, starting in the second paragraph. Any district employee who discovers child pornography on electronic and information technology equipment shall immediately report it. Why not just end it? Any employee who discovers child pornography? Because what if it's in some other format?
Because they're really trying to highlight, because the law now is very specific on electronic and information technology.
It's a little creepy to me.
And this actually came up in our internet safety presentation.
All right.
But it could say on the computer or anywhere else, and that would be.
Anywhere.
Yeah.
Right. No, that's a very good point, Mark.
Yeah.
Any district employee who discovers child pornography.
Period.
Well, comma, including on electronic and information.
Or
technology.
anywhere, I suppose, yeah.
Yeah.
And then a similar comment on the next paragraph. Any district employee that observes any act of hazing that does bodily harm to a student. Why does hazing have to do bodily harm to be reported? Any act of hazing, period.
Because otherwise it might be hard to.
Then you have to
it would be
define what
hard to
hazing is,
prove
yeah.
that it's hazing.
So then
otherwise.
are we promoting, are we allowing hazing in our buildings?
I don't know what hazing is.
I have no idea what it is.
What about that, think about that Maine East coach who got all that, I mean, that was a blatant big issue, but we don't wanna go
It
there.
would be hard to prove that it's hazing versus giving a hard time unless there was some bodily harm. Or
Yeah.
bullying. And bullying
Then-
is part of
then
it too.
you-
But doesn't it just give you more latitude if we take out the take out the bodily harm and just
We're
say?
saying must, though. I mean, so hazing, if we take out the bodily harm, we're imposing a must report. And so does that impose upon the employee too much responsibility to define what hazing is, or potentially run afoul of this? It's a very, it's a mandatory report that we're imposing here.
How does this tie into the bullying?
It does define hazing right in that paragraph, and it doesn't define anything physical. Hazing is defined as intentional, knowing, reckless act directed to or required of a student for the purpose of being initiated into, affiliating with, holding office in, maintaining membership in any group, organization, club, or athletic team whose members are or include other students. Doesn't say anything about the physical part of it.
That's true.
I wanted to raise that for people to consider. Otherwise, I don't have any comments.
I think both of those are interesting points. Maybe we should.
We could take that one out and approve it otherwise.
This has to be approved prior to our compliance visit. This one. So I'm
Well,
trying
we
to
can
think
approve
of.
it as it stands and still ask, and then we can come back and.
That's a
And
great
amend
bring
it
it.
later. Yes.
We can bring it with the first reads that are coming back as seconds. That's a good idea.
So approve it now and then put it also for additional review.
Right.
Mark,
So-
you sound curiously like a policy committee member.
I feel guilty leaving this stuff alone by not.
That's a
not
point well
reviewing it,
taken,
so
Leanne. He does, doesn't he?
I get the time for that.
I'm imagining you do, so I just wanted to welcome you to the group.
It
is a fun group.
And I think it's important, but I also don't want people to think that because we have policy in the book, we can protect everybody against everything. I mean, there's plenty of policies that are written everywhere for all sorts of subjects and that fail us on a regular basis. So I think that we need to have the policy on the book should any problem happen, but let's not get carried away as to their application.
Right, and I would say the converse is true too. I hope it's true that just because there isn't a policy doesn't mean that we can't have a practice or address the
Absolutely.
situation.
Yes.
So,
Do I need to modify the motion or just read it as is?
No, you're gonna approve all of them, but I'm gonna bring it back.
Okay, so that's up to you.
That's
Okay, can I have a motion to approve the policy?
So moved.
Policies as
Second.
presented for second reading. Second, we got moved and second. Please take a roll call vote.
Susan Ryder,
Yes.
Mark Berry,
Yes.
Jan Rosen,
Yes.
Chris Lechinger, yes, Dean Charlo,
Yes.
Julie Gottschall,
yes.
Richard Heck.
Yes.
Okay, moving on to personnel report. We all have personnel issues in our, moving down my,
The recommendations.
yeah. We have a motion to approve the personnel recommendations included in your packet, which includes leave of absence for Kurt Kurtzalls at Lake Bluff Elementary School, effective for the 2014-15 school year. For a resignation of Timothy Labrie, who is a teaching assistant at LBMS, effective March 1, 2014. And for the employment of Deborah Kazmar at LBES as a teaching assistant, effective immediately.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion, any comments, questions?
I did want to remind everybody that Tim Labrie has served us very well, but he is going to student teach at Lake Forest High School, which is why he's resigning.
We have any other questions or comments on that stuff? Roll call vote,
Mark
please.
Berry,
Yes.
Jan Rosen,
Yes.
Chris Lechinger, yes, Dean Charlo,
Yes.
Julie Gottschall,
Yes.
Richard Heck,
Yes.
Susan Ryder.
Yes.
The motion's approved. Moving on to our consent agenda. Every month, the board can choose to place items that are either recurring, such as the approval of previous minutes, annual responsibilities, such as the appointment of a school treasurer for the next year, or items of a regulatory nature that must, by law, be approved by the board. These items can be combined into one motion and passed together as part of a consent agenda. The board regularly screens its consent agenda each month and removes motions from it that, in the board's judgment, might otherwise require discussion or public comment. Before we continue, is there any motion on the consent agenda, any issue on a consent agenda that anybody wants removed for further discussion? May I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented? This consent agenda includes the LDMS Rising Star Program, the regular meeting minutes from January 28th, 2014, the closed session meeting minutes from January 28th, 2014, the committee of the whole meeting minutes from February 11th, 2014, the closed session meeting minutes from February 11th, 2014, the approval of the P card report, the approval of the bills payable, the approval of the treasurer's report, the approval of the activity reports, and that's it, right?
So moved.
That is it. We have a motion.
So moved.
And a
Second.
We have a roll call vote, please.
Mark Berry,
Yes.
Jan Rosen,
Yes.
Chris Lechinger, yes, Dean Charlo,
Yes.
Julie Gottschall, Richard Heck,
Yes.
Susan Ryder.
Yes.
Motion is approved. That's the last item on our
We
agenda.
have a good discussion on dates.
Sure.
Can everybody make next Tuesday, March 4th?
For the staffing
Yes.
conversation.
Julie's gonna think.
I know, I do have to think. I'm not sure I can.
So it's between March 4th and March 6th. Susan can't do the 6th, because that may impact what you guys do as far as any other closed session discussions too, so.
Then we can opt to do our balancing conversation. A refresher.
I can do the 4th.
Yeah, I'm fine.
Work?
That's fine.
And Julie, you just don't know yet, right?
No, I
Oh.
thought it through and I cannot do it.
The 4th or the 6th?
How many people can't do the 6th?
I know that I can't.
Generosity.
So, you might not be able,
I may not be able to do the Thursday one.
so let's do
All right,
the
so it's
Tuesday.
the 4th.
So Tuesday.
All right,
What
so
time?
if you decide, well, we can't decide time unless we know what you guys are gonna do with closed session.
What time to start?
Well, if you guys do closed session, we can do 6 and
So the option is we can pick up the radio station
Whatever you
tonight
need.
after, or we can pick it up.
Let's do 6 on Tuesday.
Yeah.
6 is fine for me.
We'll resume our house.
Or earlier.
Well,
I mean,
actually on Tuesday I could do
why don't we start at 5?
I can't make it all together 6. Or I can't do it before 6 on Tuesday.
Okay, so 6.
Let's do 6 on Tuesday.
Yeah.
Are we saying we're not doing closed session tonight?
I think what I would like to do tonight is to sort of summarize our thoughts.
Yes.
And
So a
maybe-
brief closed session,
maybe-
and then allow them to come back at 6 on.
Well, then maybe we can consolidate, maybe you and I can consolidate whatever thoughts come up tonight and readdress them on Tuesday in a more focused
That
fashion.
sounds perfect.
Okay, so we'll do a brief one tonight and come back to it on Tuesday the 4th.
So can I,
How long are we going to be here on Tuesday night, you think?
ours will be no longer than an hour and a half.
Starting at that
Max.
part at 7?
7 to 8:30 max.
Okay.
So we're going to get together at 6 to do this. Okay.
6 to 8:30 then.
If for some reason we come out of tonight's meeting thinking it'll be less than that, I can start it later.
Mark will just let me
No,
know.
I just, you know, whether we meet tonight or we meet then, I just want to know how much material we have to cover then, because we may be feeling kind of
Right.
wiped out then too. But if it's 2.5 hours, that's great. And
Is the staffing meeting enclosed as well?
Where
Closed session?
staffing has to be because we're talking about individuals teaching certain grades, etc.
and where is this?
It will depend on, well, I would probably venture to guess it will be at the middle school.
Oh, okay.
Because it's all closed.
Yeah.
Or we could do it at the district office.
Middle
Although
school's
that's not
fine.
really big enough
Yeah, that's kind
to
of
add
cramped.
staff.
Yeah, the middle school's better.
Let's say, well, just tell me if it's not middle school, so I don't go to the wrong place.
Okay, well, any other comments on this? On the meeting?
Someone can send us a follow-up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will send a follow-up.
Is there any other issues anybody want to raise before we wrap this up? Any public comment? Would anybody like to address the board before we close out? May I have a motion to close?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None? We're closed.
I would
Let
like to
us-
stay all night.
We're done.
Done.
Okay, we're gonna resume. We're gonna resume closed session downstairs, or you guys want to just stay here and do it?
No, we're fine here.
Yeah, let's do it here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll stay here. We gotta clear everybody out.